So not only am I still hopped up on this movie, I also thought it'd be a great idea to go ahead and get myself an espresso. So this might fly off the rails real fucking quick. Now, warning, this is going to be the only warning you get. This is a completely spoiler-rich review. We're going to be talking about everything top to bottom, okay? So if you've not seen this movie, do not watch this. Turn this off. Go see the movie. Now, Captain America Civil War. The movie starts out with the team in Lagos, Nigeria. What I also like about these action scenes is that it does showcase a more evolved, well-trained, and tightly knit Avengers unit. One of the big draws for me for these superhero movies is seeing the new and creative ways that the filmmakers can find to utilize a specific character's skills and abilities. I love seeing that shit. Getting to see Wanda and Cap actually have their own version of the fastball special, like Colossus and Wolverine, and she actually lifts him with her mind powers through a window on like the third, fourth floor of a building. It's like, yes, I'm here for this shit. Thank you. The fun and games, though, kind of stop because they are there to track down Crossbones, who we met in The Winter Soldier. And in the fight, he tries to take out Cap, like suicide bomber style. Wanda intervenes. She's able to contain the blast, but while she's trying to like launch him in the air, it inadvertently ends up causing an explosion. It ends up taking a lot of innocent people out. Now, this also happens to coincide with Tony Stark feeling a lot of guilt over what's been happening in the previous films, specifically what happened in Sokovia. Ultron was his creation. So, of course, he feels an incredible amount of guilt for that. There is this little scene with Alfre Woodard in which she is the mother of a son who lost his life in Sokovia. It really does drive the point home that he does feel a lot of guilt. He should be guilty, and there are people that do blame him. So Tony Stark feeling guilty, the incident in Lagos, Nigeria, General Douchebag Ross shows up. God, I hate this guy. I mean, he's there to be hated. I mean, he's there to be the stereotypical disapproving authority figure. Ugh, God, dude, go away. You were already in like the shittiest Marvel movie ever. Just go away. I'm sorry. I know people really like the Incredible Hulk movie. I was not one of those people. I don't care for that movie whatsoever. And then this guy is here and we're acknowledging that that movie exists. Moving on, he shows up to say that the world governments can no longer allow you guys to operate like you have. We're introducing the Sokovia Accords. You guys pretty much either have to agree to this or retire. So this actually ends up splitting the team right in half. You got half of the team led by Tony Stark, who really feel like a little accountability might be good. You got the other half that are led by Cap, who feel like the minute that we start answering to a central authority, we're not going to be able to do our jobs. Neither side is wrong, and that was what's really brilliant about this movie. They allow those arguments and the disagreements to just be. The movie never once picks a side and says like, yeah, Cap is really right, or like, oh my God, Iron Man is so 100% right. You're just allowed to go ahead and see both sides of the argument, and even if you go ahead and take one side or the other, you totally understand the other person's perspective. You're like, I get what you're saying. Nothing you're saying is wrong. However, I completely 100% disagree with you. The argument is cut short, though, because now we got to go to a funeral. The funeral of Peggy Carter. Agent Carter is no longer with us. We will miss you, dear. It's then that Steve discovers that Agent 13 from The Winter Soldier, the chick shacked up right next door to him, is Sharon Carter, Peggy Carter's niece. What? I have my little conspiracy theory about Sharon Carter, and I'm going to share it with you guys. First off, the cinematic universe is one in which mind control, brainwashing, and organizations like Hydra exist. So far, in this movie, in this universe, the person known as Sharon Carter is the only surviving member of the Carter family. We don't see that she has any other living surviving parents or siblings who may have been able to, go ahead and confirm that she is who she is. And also, how difficult would it have been if Sharon Carter is not who she says she is, if it was just maybe a random, Hydra sleeper agent who was able to show up to the bedside of a woman obviously suffering from memory loss and say, don't you remember me? I'm your niece, Sharon. There's no way that this can be proved through this movie, but there's also nothing within this movie that disproves it. Carrying on. Let's move ahead. So, Sharon and Steve, they meet up at the funeral. They're just kind of making eyes at one another, and the eye banging is cut short because someone has bombed the UN. The very same meeting in which the Sokovia Accords were to be ratified, Black Widow is there to kind of support. We also meet King T'Chaka and Prince T'Challa of Wakanda, and unfortunately that bomb ends up killing King T'Chaka. The press also goes ahead and releases a photo that says Bucky Barnes is the one that is behind the bombing. So of course, Steve is like, we got to find him. We either got to bring him in and bring him to justice. Now back to Prince T'Challa, or after the death of his father, he then becomes King T'Challa. Oh my god, he's so perfect. He's perfect in this movie. Okay, listen, you've already won 90% of the fight. I mean, you're in a movie with the Vision and Iron Man, and you still are the coolest looking person on screen. Bra fucking oh, seriously. And the other 10% is also because you look like Chadwick Boseman, and you look really damn good in a black fitted sweater. Good for you. So now Steve and Sam are now on the lookout, trying to find the Winter Soldier first, so that way they can actually bring him in alive. Black Panther is now convinced that Bucky Barnes is the reason why his father is dead, so now he's on his little revenge mission. Everybody else is trying to figure out where everybody else is and trying to keep everybody else alive, and it basically ends at a stalemate. So they're in the CIA compound. Our villain Zemo has figured out a way to infiltrate that CIA compound, get to Bucky, say the magic words that he needs in order to trigger Bucky into obeying whatever the dude says. It's a really great scene. We get to see our characters actually interacting with one another. Black Panther is kicking some serious ass, actually able to keep up with Bucky outside of the suit, so that way you know it's not just the suit itself. No, that's all him underneath it, okay? We also get this really nice scene of Captain America trying to stop a helicopter from taking off, and then you get this awesome pose. Listen, if I was Chris Evans, that would be the picture that I would hang up over the fireplace, so that way people could see that I was young and gorgeous and strong and beautiful at one point in my life. So now our fugitive Avengers really are fugitives at this point. They've escaped CIA custody. They figured out that Zemo is actually trying to attain control of this elite death squad of other Winter Soldiers. We gotta go ahead and stop that shit, but we're a little light on manpower right here. Both sides are. They're like, we need to reassemble. So then some recruiting starts to happen. Tony Stark is like, I'll be right back. I gotta go to Queens. And then we get to see Spidey. So when we see Spidey, we're following, some kid in a backpack. It's all we see. We follow him into his little Queens apartment, and then he's shocked to see that it's his Aunt May and Tony Stark on the couch together. I'm flipping out because, back in 1994, Robert Downey Jr. and Marissa Tomei were in this really great little rom-com called Only You.
How could you do this to me?
Because I'm in love with you!
What kind of an excuse is that?
This is a movie that I've been obsessed with since I was 10 years old in 1994. So I've been watching this movie for over 20 years. And to see them on the couch, and then to see Tony Stark remarking about how hot he thinks Aunt May is, I'm flipping the fuck out. I'm looking around are you guys not seeing this shit? The same shit I'm seeing? No, of course not, because I'm the only one that remembers rom-coms from 1994. If Marvel really wants to make all my dreams come true, in Spider-Man Homecoming, they will have a scene where Peter Parker walks in on Aunt May and Tony Stark making out on that couch. My mind will fucking explode. I will be the happiest fucking panda ever. Give me all the fan service that I can take, and then at that point I will just die, because there's nothing else left to live for. I can't. I'm sorry, it's the espresso. I'm really feeling it right now, okay? I'm really, really sorry about this. I'm not sorry at all. Oh, talking about on-screen reunions, I don't think that Alfre Woodard and Robert Downey Jr. have actually shared a screen together since 1993's Hearts and Souls. So Hearts and Souls is about a little kid who has 5 ghosts attached to him because they passed away at the very same time that he was being born. So one of those ghosts is Alfre Woodard. So that little boy grows up to become Robert Downey Jr. They then discover that they can actually possess his body, actually use him to resolve some issues that they didn't get to while they were living before they pass on, onto heaven. So then you get, at a certain point, Robert Downey Jr. acting like Alfre Woodard's character. So then you get awesome cinematic things like this.
Sir, just calm down. Calm down? I am calm. You want me to get loud? I will get loud. I will get loud. If you want me to get loud, you go get that manager right now and get his butt down here, and I might calm down. Fine. I'll take you to him. I'm not going anywhere. You bring him to me. I'm a die.
The man is a treasure. He is. We need to protect him at all costs. We should just go ahead and invest every kind of life-saving technology into keeping this man alive forever. Anyways, back to Spidey. I'll be the first one to admit that when Marvel announced that they were going to not only get back creative control of the Spider-Man character, but that they were going to go ahead and show us a third Peter Parker character, I was not excited about it. I was not. I thought the way to go was to go ahead and say that we're going to separate ourselves from the Sony franchises. Spider-Man in the MCU is going to be Miles Morales. But after seeing this movie and seeing Tom Holland as Peter Parker, I 100% get why you as Marvel would be absolutely insistent on going back and doing Peter Parker not just right, but perfectly. This is definitive Peter Parker. This is definitive Spider-Man, okay? Because historically, before Peter Parker, before Spider-Man, every other teenage hero that was in superhero comics, they were sidekicks. You know, even Bucky Barnes started off as the teenage sidekick to Captain America. Up until that point, superheroes, they were all adults. They had their shit together. They were worried about saving the world. They were not worried about acne and puberty and being able to talk to a girl and get a date. All of the humor, once we see him in action, is coming from the fact that he's so young and he's so green and inexperienced, but yet he still can, like, handle himself. Now, over on Cap's side, he knows that he needs to go ahead and recruit some other people as well. So he calls his old buddy Hawkeye. First off, Hawkeye has the fucking nerve to show up looking like this.
Guess I should have knocked.
Listen, dude, if you're gonna show up and just get everybody pregnant on site, you really needed to give this movie a fucking warning. Now I'm sitting here 8 months pregnant. I can't even have this right now. Why? Because I got a fetus growing inside me. Thanks for that. Switched over to water. Hang on. I love that we've gone ahead and set up his reason for being a part of this fight in the previous movie, which is great and fantastic because now he's Big Brother Hawkeye. He really feels like it's now his job to look after Wanda now that Pietro's no longer with us. And I love that there is a personal reason for every person involved in this movie to be a part of the fight and they're not just there arbitrarily. I love that this scene also lets us see that Wanda's been eating her Wheaties. Like, her powers have been getting stronger. Seeing her affect Vision that way, that was awesome. Let's also talk about Vision and Wanda. Now, for those of you that don't read the comics, Vision and Wanda have a long-standing romantic relationship. So much so that they actually, in the comics, are the first human and android to actually get married to one another. And for lack of a better term, I like that they make Vision more human in this movie. I like that they go ahead and show that he is capable of emotional attachment, so much so that he's in love with Wanda. It's never said, but just how amazing and effective Paul Bettany's performance is. With just a few glances, he's able to convey how much he cares and is obviously in love with this girl. So yeah, we go through all that to get to the real reason why we're here, the airport scene. Holy shit, dude. Oh my fucking god. So let's talk about the big moments in that movie. And of course, it's a pun, because I mean Giant Man. And when it happened, the whole fucking audience, including myself, was like, holy shit! And so did Spidey. No clue. Total fake out. I was like, well fucking done. Speaking of Spidey, I like his fighting style here. This is probably a stronger, faster, more agile and flexible Spidey than we've ever seen on film before. And I like that he's so powerful that he's not even aware like how strong he is in relation to the other characters. He's just thinking like, yeah, I can do this. Like, it's not a big deal. And all of these other older, more well-trained characters are kind of like... Now, I recorded a review for the second trailer of this movie, and I had to cut a part out for time, but I'm going to roll this clip so that way you guys know that I'm not full of shit. Okay, I found it. I didn't delete it, thank God. So go ahead, yeah, roll the clip. You know what I would love to see, though? I would love to see Captain America and Spider-Man go up against one another. They're both sort of, you know, physically enhanced beings. They're still human. They can still bleed. They can still die. They have enhanced senses, super strength. They're super acrobatic. That would be absolutely amazing. So Cap and Spidey fight. And as it started to happen, in the theater I go to, it's the reclining seats. And I actually went like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. All my dreams were coming true in that one moment. Because I was not wrong. Cap and Spidey have very similar fighting styles. The only thing that really differs between the two of them are their gadgets and their accessories. They both have super strength, heightened senses. They have a very agile, flexible, you know, hardcore parkour kind of like fighting style. And I love that the edge that Cap has over Spidey is about, you know, the fact that he's older and more experienced and that he's a fucking tactical genius. I also love that at the end of that sequence when, you know, Cap has bested Spidey and he gives him that compliment like, you got heart, where you from? And Spidey says Queens. There's that little smirk that Cap has where he's like, Brooklyn. I love that because I love how New Yorkers have like a natural respect and affection for people from New York, but if you're from a different borough, there's always like this rivalry and snark that they just naturally send your way. If you know people from New York, you know what I'm talking about. Hey Lisa! Yeah, so the fight ultimately ends with Rhodey being shot down. And I got to admit, those moments when the HUD, the display just goes dark and he's just falling and tumbling through the sky, free falling, that was scary. That was like legitimately harrowing because I was like, oh my God, it's happening. This is it. This is when everybody starts to die. So he hits the ground. He hits it hard. And the moment when, Stark's Girl Friday says, heartbeat detected, I was like, oh, thank God. If this movie had ended differently, where everybody is friends again and everything is fine and nothing is basically changed and it's all wrapped up in a nice little bow, I'd probably be like, well, this is bullshit. People needed to die. People needed, there needed to be a real legitimate consequence. But because the ending ends the way that it does, I don't feel like a character death would have added any more to that. I really don't. Cap and Bucky, they escape. They're able to, go and find Zemo, go to Siberia, try to stop him from getting his little death squad of super soldiers. The rest of Team Cap has been arrested, and they've been taken to the raft. So on the way to the raft, Tony Stark gets the information that he needs to know that Bucky Barnes was not the person that bombed the UN. He gets there. Obviously, General Douchebag Ross doesn't want to believe him because that's his job, to not believe him and just be an asshole. Fuck you. And I love this interaction here with Tony Stark and Hawkeye. It is probably my favorite scene in the entire movie. I love how Hawkeye just calls him on his bullshit and is like, you made us criminals. Like, this is why we're here. Because of you. You did this. And I love that Tony Stark's first instinct is to immediately say, like, no, you did this. You knew the law and you still chose to break it. Like, dude, come on. I'm a narcissist. I know the playbook. I know that tactic number 1 is to go ahead and shift the blame so that way nothing is ever your fault. Ooh, too real. And there's this really great line, though, that when Tony Stark turns to leave, Hawkeye says,
You gotta watch your back with this guy. There's a chance he's gonna break it.
And it was a dig about Rhodey. I was like, oh, dude. Oh, shit. Too soon. But Tony Stark knows that he's full of shit. In fact, it only takes the time from going from Hawkeye to 2 cells down to Sam Wilson, where he can actually say, look, I'm wrong. I made a mistake. Help me help Cap. So Sam tells him where Cap, Bucky, and of course Zemo are all going. First off, we need to talk about Zemo. I love this villain. I respect the fuck out of him because even though he is, the antagonist, I love that his reasons for doing what he's doing are justified. If I had lost a child, the person I love, and a parent all in the same day, and the people responsible are people that I could take down with my specific skill set, like, listen, things are going to get real quickly, okay? So he confesses that he is the person that bombed the UN. He is the person responsible for King T'Chaka's death. Black Panther hears it because he's also hitched a ride along and because he's also trying to find Bucky, but he learns the truth. And what I also love about Zemo is that he's a sympathetic villain. Not that we feel sympathy for him, but that he himself is capable of sympathy for his opponents. He's sitting there knowing full well that T'Challa is there to kill him. He knows that. He's accepted it. He clearly does not want to live anymore. And there's this one line that is just brilliant and it's really stuck with me. It's when he says to T'Challa, I'm sorry about your father. He seemed a good man with a dutiful son. First off, I love when villains can have real tender emotions and show them to their opponents. I love that. I think the last time that I really actually saw that done well was like in Serenity with the operative. Second of all, I love that he draws a parallel between himself and T'Challa, and he doesn't have to revert to that we're not so different, you and I kind of trope that we always hear in movies and TV shows. And that parallel is not lost on T'Challa, and he's like, I don't want to be consumed by that same kind of vengeance and revenge in my heart that you are, because you're clearly fucked up. You're sitting here on a mountaintop with a gun in your hand ready for me to kill you or for you to kill yourself. I don't want to be like the Avengers who are so consumed by hatred and revenge that they're now trying to kill each other downstairs. I'm done with it. I'm like, yes, T'Challa, yes. Fuck yes, I love you. I will follow you anywhere. I pledge allegiance to Wakanda and to my one true king, T'Challa. All day, every day. That's the pledge of allegiance to Wakanda. So back to the people that are actually kicking the shit out of one another, we find out that Zemo is not there to actually take control of that little death squad. No, he's there to show what's really going to go ahead and set this fucking party off. It's the footage of Bucky Barnes killing Howard and Maria Stark. Now, here's what happened. The first time I saw this movie, when the car accident happens, I actually grabbed the arm of my friend Jesse, who was sitting next to me, and I was like, oh my God, did he just kill the Starks? The IV bags are really what faked me out, because if there are IV bags full of blue Windex, I'm not thinking that that's Howard Stark in the car, because Howard Stark, he's a tech hardware kind of guy. He's not a biologist, he's not a chemist. So when the dude presses play and then I realized like Tony Stark is there, I said, oh no. And then once we start seeing the footage going and everybody else in the theater starts catching on, the entire atmosphere in that theater completely switched like on a dime. And it was like, oh shit, no, don't do this. No, there is no coming back from this. And we knew what was happening and we didn't want it to happen. And it happened. And it was like, no, my God, no. Oh, this sucks. There's no way that this doesn't suck. And there's no way to fully justify one way or the other. I mean, it's like, Tony Stark, please realize that, you know, this guy had no control over his actions. And he has that really great line where he's like, I don't care. He killed my mom. It's like, good fucking point. And I really love how it's the death of his mother that drives him over the fucking edge, because, which I think is really interesting, because I really do believe that if that footage had started to roll and it just was Bucky killing his father, I think there would have been a way that Tony Stark would have found a way to get over it. I think that there would have been some justification in his mind that, like, you know what? My father was involved with a lot of covert, secret government shit. His involvement somehow, inadvertently and maybe undeservedly so, is what brought his death about. Unfortunately, by having Bucky kill his mother, a woman that, as far as we know, that had no involvement whatsoever with what her husband was doing, she's just completely, totally innocent collateral damage. Which again also plays into the overall themes of them taking responsibility for the collateral damage that has happened. Though I love that this entire third act is just completely subversive. We all thought that, you know, Cap and Iron Man and the Avengers were going to be okay by the end of this. It's like, yes, absolutely. This is what I'm here for. Real conflict. Because there's no reason why these guys should not fight. They need to be fighting, because Cap is trying to make sure that Tony Stark is not killing Bucky. Tony Stark is absolutely insistent on killing Bucky. So the fight ends up with Captain America ending the fight by destroying the arc reactor energy source for Tony Stark's suit. It's at a draw, it's at a stalemate, nobody has died, thank God. So Cap picks up Bucky, who's had his arm shot off by Tony Stark, like, didn't know the suit could do that. And as he's starting to walk away, Tony Stark starts yelling at him like, you know, you don't deserve that shield. My father made that shield. Then Captain America stops and he drops it. And I love that by the end of that fight, on the ground is just, you know, a broken Iron Man mask, the blasted off Winter Soldier arm, and the Captain America shield. They've left the broken remnants of their hero selves, and they can only just let the people that they are underneath all of that just walk away. Like, that was like, awesome fucking visual storytelling. Like, I was a big fan of that moment. So yeah, so ultimately this movie ends with the Avengers more or less broken. I mean, now everybody on Tony Stark's side, I mean, let's go down the list. I mean, Tony Stark is more or less semi-retired. Rhodey's on the injured list, definitely. He's suffering from some form of paralysis. Vision is moping about. I'm sure he's still kind of like figuring out where he fits into all of this. Black Widow is also on the run because she betrayed the team, so we have no clue where she is. Black Panther, he's back in Wakanda because he's like, fuck you guys, I'm out. Spidey, he's back in Queens doing homework. And then, of course, Cap's side of the team, possibly hiding out in Wakanda like we see in that mid-credit scene. I really do hope that, you know, all of Cap's team are in Wakanda. They're taking refuge there in that isolated country. Maybe also a reason why we might see some of them in that Black Panther movie. Here's hoping. My friend Jesse also pointed out that now there's a legitimate reason why people just can't call the Avengers. Half of them are hiding out because they're on the lam. The other half, because of the Accords, they can't do jack shit until the UN panel says they can. And I ultimately think that this is the first Marvel movie that I've seen that has really been interested in telling its own complete story for the sake of itself, and not just to set up something that's going to pay off in later movies. I saw it 4 times, and each time I'm still entertained by what's happening. Everything that's happening on the screen is propelling that plot forward in a really nice, consistent pace. I really loved it. Yeah, so please tell me what you think. Like, comment below, subscribe, do whatever it is that you feel the need to do, and I will talk to you later. Okay, love you, bye!